I am Nabil Arvid from Ironbark Ridge Public School, here today to interview Wendy Machin, the President of NRMA, Australia's largest member organisation which has taken the lead in helping schools teach road safety, including free educational resources. Wendy was the first woman member of the National Party of Australia elected to the New South Wales Parliament and was Minister for Consumer Affairs and Minister assisting the Minister for Roads and Transports. Here at the Australian Education Times, we like to recognise and commend success. Let's welcome Wendy Machin and learn some deep secrets behind her education and success. Hello Wendy.
Hi.
I welcome you once again.
Thank you. Thanks for having me here.
Okay, I'm going to ask you a few questions. As a child or a young adult, what career aspiration did you have?
Well, when I was a very young child, I wanted to go to the moon, something probably all kids want to do. Then I thought I'd like to be a baker because I really loved going to the bread shop as a kid. Then as I got older, I thought I would like to be a landscape architect or a gardener. And then somehow when I finished my education, I got interested in doing public relations, so I applied to go to university to what is now UTS in Sydney, and I did a BA in communication and a major in public relations.
Well done. Okay, what led you to reach this top position of NRMA, and what was the role of education in achieving your goal?
Okay, good question about education. I think education is really important for everybody. It's a great leveller. It doesn't matter where you come from. If you get a decent education, and we're so lucky in Australia to have access to good schools no matter where you live, then that really helps. So I went to school in a little country town called Wingham, went to the local high school there, and then I came to Sydney and I went to university. And I guess I just did all sorts of things. I went into politics first, and that taught me a lot about dealing with people and a whole wide range of issues. And then I left because I had several children and worked part-time. Then I was asked to come on the board of the NRMA, which was a great opportunity for me. It's such a fantastic organisation. It's a big business looking after people's cars when they break down, but it also plays a huge role in education about road safety, from young children right through to older drivers. So it was really probably for me just a bit of luck. You know, I've worked hard most of my life, but you know, being in the right place at the right time and being given some opportunities, and I think when you have opportunities, you should always seize them. I'm a great advocate of the idea of seize the day, you know, take those opportunities when you get them, even if it means taking a risk. Being in politics is risky because you might get voted out. People don't always like what you're doing, they don't agree with you, but if you don't take risks and calculate your risks, you know, put yourself out there, then you don't really get the wins as well.
Okay, interesting. What would you say is the best part of education system in Australia, and what is lacking?
Well, I think we are so lucky to have a great free education system. I mean, we have choice. There are private schools, church schools, independent schools, and we have a wonderful public education system. So I think we're very, very lucky to have that here, and I think you know, just about anywhere you go, you can get a good quality education in Australia if you're prepared to work for it. I mean, you can go to the best school in the world, and if you're lazy, you probably won't get the best out of it. In terms of what's missing, that's a really interesting question. I think probably what we want to see is good people going in to become teachers. I think a lot of people choose other professions for whatever reason. Maybe it's the money, maybe they think it's more status. But to me, I can see no more satisfying job than being a teacher. And I've seen it with my own children. When they graduate, I look at their teachers and I think, wow, they must feel so proud that they've had a hand in shaping these young people's lives. And I think that's the most important thing we can do for the younger generations of Australia, is make sure they get good education and they have good teachers, which are so important in delivering that.
Yes, definitely. How is NRMA taking part in helping and supporting education to help students in the community?
Well, we do a lot in terms of education. Obviously, our big focus is road safety, and we are participating in not only campaigns in Australia, but right around the world. There's currently a campaign to try and save 5 million lives that may be lost if we don't do better on our roads. So around the world, road safety is one of the biggest killers of children in developing nations because they don't have footpaths, they don't have safe cars, so kids are often the biggest victim of road crashes. So here in Australia, we try to help other clubs around the world. We try and give them our knowledge and support them in the programs they're doing. And as you probably know, we do a lot of things in schools here. At the moment, we've got a program going around about 100 schools in New South Wales looking at science and road safety. So we're trying to use science to show what force will do to you and how, crashing a car into a barrier, what that does, the physical forces that has involved and what that can do to a person in a car or riding a bicycle without wearing a helmet, what that might do if you have a crash and you don't have a helmet. So we use funny kind of air blowers, and we use eggs and all sorts of things to try and make it entertaining, but to teach young kids the importance of road safety. We run a lot of safer driving programs. We have a driving school of our own, and when we started that, our aim was to try and make the quality of the teaching better than anybody else's, so that we can make people as safe as possible on our roads. So we do a lot of things, right from young children right through to kids like my own who have just now got their P plates.
Okay, well we do that some road safety in our school too.
Yeah, good, I'm glad to hear it.
A leader must be equipped with a set of competence necessary to perform his or her role. Which one would you say is the most important ability a leader should have?
Gee, that's a really good question. I think a leader has to have a few qualities. The single most important quality, I think, is probably the ability to take people with you, to be able to get them to work with you, but to be able to lead them, accept your guidance, understand what you're trying to say. And I think that's a quality that some people can learn. Some people don't want to learn it. Not everybody wants to be a leader. Some people are happy to be a part of the team and have someone else lead them. And you see that in everything, school classes, sporting teams, whatever. There are those that are good at being out front, and then there are those that are fantastic as the support crew. I think leaders have to have courage and strength, and I think they have to have integrity. I don't think anybody respects a good leader if they don't have honesty and integrity. So I guess there are a few of the qualities. It's hard to say just one, because I don't think there's one single thing makes up a good leader.
That's true. And what are the key factors required to be successful?
Well, I think to be successful, there's no great secret. Hard work is a part of it. It doesn't matter whether you're a good footballer, a great golfer, a fantastic business leader, or the Prime Minister. You won't succeed if you're lazy. So I think hard work is a really important part of it. I am a strong believer in good education. I think education is a major part of that. And I think you continue learning all your life. I go off and do courses. I did one last week on digital media. And I think it's really important to keep learning all your life. I don't believe that old dogs can't learn new tricks. I think you can always learn. And in our very rapidly changing world, it's really important to keep your skills sharp, to keep learning, keep your mind challenged. So I think hard work, keeping your knowledge up to date, I think just common sense, and being decent to people too. I'm a strong believer in treating people properly. Doesn't mean you don't counsel them if they do the wrong thing, but it's the way you do it. So I think if you treat people properly, you'll get that back.
That's true. Okay. How do you start your ordinary day?
Oh, well, I'm a bit of a slow starter to the day. I'm not one of those people that likes to get up at 5 o'clock and go running. I prefer to do that later in the day. So I usually start my day with a cup of tea and I read the newspapers. We still get hard copy newspapers, but we read them on the iPad as well. So I like to just catch up on what's happening in the news. Quite often I'll have some phone calls. It's not uncommon for me to have journalists to start ringing from just after 6 o'clock in the morning looking for comment on some of the things in the media. So I'll often have to spend an hour just making phone calls to radio stations before I come into my office. I usually tidy up a bit. I have 3 children that still live at home, so I usually tidy up the house and then I come to work and get into it. I have a busy life, busy job, but I enjoy it a lot. But, so I just enjoy my quiet time in the morning because that's about the only quiet time I get in the day.
Okay, how does your day end?
How does my day end? Well, it varies a lot. I have quite a lot of evening functions to go to, so it might be a dinner, a business dinner, where there's a speaker, which is really good, and that's all part of my learning. Sometimes they're just small round table dinners with other business leaders, and we just exchange views on different issues. Sometimes it might be a fun show. I saw the premiere of Strictly Ballroom the other night. Some days it might be with exercise. I do a little bit of exercise, and I go to the gym. Sometimes I do a boxing class regularly with my daughter. Other times it might be just getting home, going to the kitchen, cooking dinner, just like every other mum.
Well, do you still have enough time to sleep and take a rest?
It's important to make time for that. Yes, I do. There are some times when I get really, really busy and I do get tired, and I think it's important that you make time just to recharge your batteries, because you function better if you're sharp. I know I do. I do everything better. If I feel rested, I can take over the world. I feel great. But when you're tired, it's just harder. You know, you're a bit sluggish, your head aches, so you've got to work harder to concentrate. So I think it's really important to get exercise. I love exercise. I love sport, and just to have a bit of thinking time. Things like yoga. I do a little bit of yoga. We actually do that at work here at NRMA. We have a wellbeing program, and we pay to do that. So in our lunch break once a week, we do yoga classes, and I find that really good. I enjoy that. So yes, I do, but perhaps not enough time as I would like to just relax.
Well, yoga must be fun.
Yeah, it's good.
Yeah. You are the first woman member of the National Party of Australia elected to the New South Wales Parliament. Have there been any gender issues for you personally in your career?
There have been a few gender issues. I was lucky to be raised in a family that didn't put any constraints on me. My parents just took the view that whatever I'd like to do, they would support me. So, and they thought it was very important that I went to university, because I went to a little country school, so they thought it was really important that I got out of that little town, even if I came back. So when I went into Parliament, I think they thought I was a bit crazy. They thought that was a challenging decision, but they were really supportive all the way through, and then when I had children, they helped me. But in Parliament, you know, there were people who were surprised when I got selected by my party to stand. I remember one of the older men said, "Oh, you'll never win that seat with a woman," and I won it with a big increase in the vote, and it kept going that way. So I don't think people really believe that these days, but you do come across it from time to time, but not that much, and I don't tolerate it. I don't like it, and if I feel people are being you know, a bully or rude, then I will take them on. You know, I don't like the way you said that. You know, I'm not aggressive about it, but I don't think you should let those things go unspoken and unnoticed. So I'm prepared to stand up if I think people are doing the wrong thing.
Interesting. And who has been your greatest inspiration to date?
Gee, my greatest inspiration, I've learnt from a few people along the way. I probably would have to say my parents have been a great inspiration. I have a disabled sister. My older sister was born, or was injured when she was born, and she suffered a very significant disability. So my parents, that was very difficult for them, and they turned that into a positive, I suppose. They spent their life working to improve the facilities and the schools and education for people in our area with disabilities. And I probably haven't appreciated that as much as I should until I got older and maybe had my own children. So I think the way that they just got in and they took something that was really devastating for them and worked hard to make life better for not only my sister but a whole lot of people was fantastic. And the support they gave to me, you know, wasn't easy for them, having to juggle a child with really bad disabilities and another child. So the support they gave to me, the way they worked in their community, I think that taught me some really good lessons.
What sort of difficulties have you encountered, and how do you overcome these setbacks?
Well, I've had losses and wins, you know. I've got a great job now, but I haven't always had everything go my way. Probably having a sister with a disability was tough. You know, when you're a little kid, that's hard growing up with that in the family. You have to make a lot of compromises, a lot of sacrifices. In Parliament, you know, I had a lot of difficult times. I had some very difficult issues to deal with. People aren't very pleasant to politicians. I'd like to think, you know, your viewers and the students at your school might think a bit more kindly about politicians, because most of them are decent people trying to do the right thing. But for some reason there's a group of people, you know, there's a percentage of the public think it's okay to attack politicians, that they don't have feelings and they can say whatever nasty thing they like about them. So I got quite a bit of that over some difficult issues. I've applied for jobs and not got them. I've made some decisions that haven't worked out. So, you know, different things over the years.
Okay, how do you keep yourself motivated?
I don't find it hard to stay motivated. I think life's really interesting. There's always another challenge around the corner. I change from time to time. In my career, I have reached points where I think enough. You know, I've done this for long enough, or I need a change or a new challenge. So I go looking for a new challenge. I have a youngish family. I've got kids who are still studying, so that's quite challenging, balancing work and family. So I think all of that keeps me motivated. I'm inspired by my children now that they're older. They're at university and one is just finishing school. What they're learning is really interesting, so we have really inspiring discussions. I love current affairs. Obviously, I was a politician. You know, the NRMA is very involved in public policy. I like feeling that I can contribute to making the world a slightly better place, so I guess that motivates me.
Okay, that's good. On your road to success, is there any decision you have made to overcome, is there any decision you have made that you were reluctant to take and regret it afterwards?
Gee, that's a really good question. There are probably a couple of decisions I might have made in politics, more about politics than policy and the business of running the state. You know, you sort of think, oh, maybe I didn't deal with that person properly, or I should have supported someone else as leader. But generally there's not a lot of decisions where I feel I've got it really, really wrong. A lot of the work I do is in teams, so you're making collaborative decisions, you work as a team, you try and make the best decision for, you know, in our case, the members of the NRMA or the public, or when I was in Parliament, for the voters of the state. And I'm not trying to say I'm sharing the blame. Sometimes things go wrong. I mean, we've made business decisions here that haven't worked out. And that's often just because you didn't have the right information or knowledge at the time. There's no point crying over spilt milk. You've just got to try and fix it. So there's, you know, it's really hard for me to say that there's anything I would undo. If you're saying, is there something I would do differently? Probably not.
Okay, that's good. What advice or words of wisdom would you give to our readers planning their career?
Well, I would say that people should get a good education. I know that I keep saying that, but I think that's really important because that gives you lots of choices. And there are lots of options. It doesn't necessarily mean just going to university. There are some fantastic TAFE courses and trade courses, and we need all of those people, and there are some great businesses to be had if you get those skills and then go on to have your own little business. So I think I would encourage people to look at all of their options, keep an open mind. I would encourage people to try different things. I'm a bit of a believer in a gap year, maybe after school, maybe partway, you know, early in life, because I've seen a lot of young people leave school and make wrong decisions because they weren't sure what they wanted to do, so they go off and do a course they hate because someone said you should do it, or they're good at maths but what they really love is art. I think you need to do something that you really, really like, because you have to work for a long time, and it can be great fun. It can be challenging and interesting, and you meet great people, but you do it for a long time, so you want to love what you're doing. So I just think, you know, get some good skills, you know, work reasonably hard and follow what you like. Do something that you love, because you're going to be doing it for a long time.
Yes, definitely. Well, thank you very much for answering our questions, Wendy.
My pleasure. Great questions, really.
Yeah.
It's one of the best interviews I've ever had.
I'm sure our readers and listeners will be very much inspired and motivated from your success story and advice.
I hope so.
We would like to thank you on behalf of the Australian Education Times for taking the time to talk to us today. We wish you all the best with your work and future goals. Thank you.
Thank you. Thanks for your questions.